Hello and welcome to what is now episode 18 of On the Game with the Wild Boar. Again, I'm here with Ben.
Hiya.
Yeah, Ben, whatever happened to Bubba?
I don't know what happened. Full on for FIFA addiction.
Yeah, he could be dead and I wouldn't even know. Yeah, how are we supposed to get our updates of what's going on in FIFA without him around?
I mean, if that's all he's bringing, then
He probably doesn't even listen anymore. He's just completely disappeared. Okay, so big thing obviously this week and since the last episode was that E3 came and went. So we're going to just try and as quickly as possible just kind of reflect on some of the big things that happened and just summarize. Obviously, we could go into this and talk about it for hours and hours on end, but we're just going to try and make a quick summary of what was there and our initial thoughts if we had any in the first place.
that's reflect and summarize.
Reflect and summarize. So, I mean, I've made a little list, but I'm guessing, Ben, you've made quite a comprehensive.
Well, I'm just going to work to the list I had for the last episode 17, kids. And then I've got some additional bits, but yeah, we can just go from that because that's
okay.
More or less works, doesn't it?
Well, let's do that then. Let's do that. Hit me. Let's go through it. You hit me with your bits, and I'll fill in the gaps.
Okay. Do you want to do it by presentation?
We can do. Why not? Give it some order.
So, okay, good order. I like that. So Bethesda are up first. So they, to the surprise of nobody, or recently anyway, showed Fallout 4 and Dishonored 2. They also showed Doom, but Bov.
See, well, with Doom, just really quick, like Dishonored 2, I don't really care about, to be honest. So we got to the first one. Fallout 4, I still haven't really played Fallout 3 properly. So
I don't think they're necessarily so sequential that you couldn't just pick it up, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Good point. But with Doom, when I looked at it, like I've played all the Dooms and Quakes and whatever was bollocks. But with this one, I'm in two minds about it because one, I thought it looked pretty intense, like lots of gore, but like in a really wild, crazy way, like not making it too like bogged down with being realistic, but almost like Duke Nukem in like just fucking balls out, guns are blazing. And I don't know whether I like that or not. What did you think?
I'm not interested in it really, to be honest. I know it's got like a kind of what do you call it, like a place in the history of gaming, but I'm just not bothered by it. It doesn't really do anything for me. It's now you're kind of divorcing it from being a novelty of, oh, what's this thing where you can look and shoot at the same time? Like back like 20 years ago, that was a bit of a novelty, but now that every second game is like that, then don't care.
Yeah, except you could look up or down. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit old hat, like with the way they seem to be doing it. Like gun splatter kind of. It's like, remember when Bulletstorm came out and everyone was like, oh, it's a return to like that kind of thing. And I was like, I played the whole Bulletstorm. I was like, it's a bit shit really, because I feel like games have progressed since then. And just because they've put like a high fidelity kind of, high res version of something, it doesn't mean that the gameplay mechanics are going to be any better. But anyway, okay, we're going too deep in it already. But Doom, it's
so are you not bothered, or you are bothered by Fallout 4? I thought it looked absolutely amazing, to be honest. It looks like the world they've created is quite impressive, and I would definitely consider doing that.
I'm gonna play Fallout 3 first.
Oh really? Because apparently obviously that all these Bethesda games are pretty long. So you're actually gonna do 3 first?
Yeah, it's on my like short list of PS3 games that I've still got to complete before I fully give up. Like some of the stuff I'm just not going to play, like Lost Planet or whatever. But
well, I would I would agree with you on not bothering with Lost Planet, especially if it's Lost Planet 3. Don't even bother. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but no, Fallout 3 I will do, and I'm also like I'm already part way through it, so it's not as if I'm doing it from scratch already. So yeah, what else were they doing?
So I mean, so that was mostly what they showed. So they showed some detailed gameplay of Dishonored of Fallout 4 and went into detail on that.
Disbothered.
I haven't played Dishonored 1 yet, and I'm quite keen to. I mean, I played it at one of the expo things, but I haven't picked it up since. It's been sat on my coffee table for 2 years now. And I haven't played it, but they've announced that they're re-releasing it as a remastered thing, right? This year, I want to say this year, and then obviously the sequel at some point in the near future.
Okay.
But you're not bothered at all by that.
Nope.
You, sir. Okay, so then I can't remember who in order was next, but let's go with EA.
EA. Okay.
Did you see any of the actual presentations live?
No, I only watched the clips, like the actual game clips.
So the funny thing about so Bethesda don't normally do like their own press conference at EA. At E3. So that was why it was a bit of a novelty to see them there. So obviously they had something big to show. EA obviously do all the time, but you wouldn't know it because it was a little bit weird. The EA one, the Square Enix one went into strangeness as well. But the EA one especially, there was a point where for about 20 minutes of their hour and a half, they had Pele out on stage. And obviously the American audience and even myself were bored to tears because Pele was you could barely understand him because he's just rambling on about some kind of football story about how great FIFA and football is. I mean, to say that no one cares about FIFA anymore as in the organization, is amazing. But yeah, it was just so misjudged. I don't understand. Everyone was just, if you were checking Twitter at the time, people were just kind of going out of their minds. Like, what is going on? Why are they spending so much time talking to Pele on stage? It's really awkward. It doesn't make sense. What is going on?
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, so eventually they got to the games. So FIFA 16, that will surprise nobody.
Yeah.
Then there was a little bit of I don't know whether it is gameplay. It would be difficult to say. I couldn't really tell. So they showed Mass Effect 4. What they showed looked great, but it wasn't much of it. It was just kind of like action trailer.
Right.
Most of it looked CG or something equivalent to that. It might have been in engine, but it almost certainly wasn't, how you would play minus the HUD kind of thing.
Yeah, I did see the Andromeda thing. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the few series where I just know that I'm going to play it regardless, really, to be fair. So, yeah, the less I see of it, the better, really, to be honest. So I don't spoil it. But yeah, they've confirmed it's set somewhere new entirely. But there have been like teardowns of the trailer they showed, and there are humans, there are Krogans, there are all those kind of alien races we know of, but they're with your crew, and all the new people you meet are they're new, Sam. They're new.
Oh no.
Yeah. So no mention of Titanfall 2 from EA, which I don't suppose is. I don't know. Is it a surprise?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I was really looking forward to hearing something about it because I just loved the first one so much. But I don't know. Is it a surprise?
Yeah. I mean, it was 2 years ago that it came out, so maybe if you were announcing it, I mean, there were lots of games that were announced that weren't this year, for instance. So I mean, so it would have been next year unless they're planning to just release it or announce it and release it next year.
Maybe they don't. Yeah, maybe they're going to wait and do like a massive thing. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? So there was that. There was one of my favorite games of the show, which they showed, Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Did you see anything?
I haven't seen any of that. What was that like? What you wanted?
Yeah. Oh man, it looks fantastic. They were saying that I can't remember whether they were saying it was. I think it was saying it was in engine, and it looked amazing. But I think it's like an art style that lends itself to visual impressiveness, if that's a term. It looked absolutely slick as fuck. And then the news came out after or from the show floor when they were doing a demo that they've basically removed guns as an option. So at no point do you have to pick up a gun as Faith through the game. So at the end of Mirror's Edge 1, an amazing game in itself, but it did the last couple of levels, you did end up picking up a gun through certain sections that were quite difficult to get through otherwise, unless you played it many times, which kind of ruined it, turned it into an FPS. It wasn't as interesting, all that kind of stuff. Apparently the news is that it's also going to be like semi-open world, so it's going to be kind of free parkour around certain districts. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Pick up missions, but obviously that's free parkour in first person mode, so that's just mind blowing if that's the case. Yeah, wicked. I'm completely signed up to that. That looks great. They showed some EA access, but that was mainly kind of demoed during the Microsoft conference. There was a 3 weeks trial for EA access the week of E3, so you could go on and try it out. I thought it was a streaming service, but it's not.
Okay.
Did you try it?
No. Is it any good?
Yeah, so basically it's you go on and you get access to, I don't think it's the current game, so it's not like FIFA 50. It might be FIFA 15 now, but it wouldn't be FIFA 16 when it releases. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not any of like the newest games. You get like a week's early access to those brand new games, but I don't think you get permanent access. But basically the deal is you pay £20 a year and you get access to all those games, including things like Battlefield, Titanfall, all the sports games, things like Peggle,
right?
I played, and effectively it just gives you a key to go and download it from the Xbox store or whatever. So you download it. There's no like latency or streaming issues because you just basically go and download the game and it's on your drive as long as you've got an EA access subscription. So yeah, I mean that's quite a cool thing. I don't think I'd bother paying for it yet because there's not really much on there I want to play, but
yeah,
it's quite cool. If they flesh it out, it's definitely got potential. I think. I mean, that's a decent price, £20. It's not exactly going to break the bank for anybody.
That's cheap.
All those games. Anyway, then EA finished with Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, I saw that. Man, that looks fucking wicked.
Yeah, that does look good. I mean, I've caught in two minds there because I've already heard that they're splitting the DLC packs and there are a map pack coming out to time with the film coming out at the end of the year, and all this kind of stuff. And there's a limit on the number of worlds that are included in the game and all this kind of stuff. But the actual gunplay and the I think what struck me the most was the sound. The sound, it absolutely sounded brilliant.
Well, they ripped it from the original audio files or something like that from the films, if I've heard right.
Yeah, I mean, it looked absolutely amazing. I'm not sure it's a game I'd get into like full on, like, life dominating type thing, but it does look fun. I don't know enough about the kind of offline or co-op modes to comment on that, really, to be honest, in terms of whether it's going to be any good for that. But yeah, I mean, definitely going to give that a go. How about you?
Yeah, well, with my new job as well, because it's Star Wars stuff, I should hopefully be able to play it / maybe even get a copy quite quickly before the general public, perhaps. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that.
Cool. Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
Cool. Same here. Then there was, just because it's closest, Activision. So they showed Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Bothered? Not bothered?
A bit sick of it by now. It's the first one. Like I usually get them as soon as they, or like around as soon as they come out. But I think for this one, I'm just going to wait until when they usually come crashing down after the initial launch. So I will get it at some point, but as I said, like same with Assassin's Creed now, I'm not going to keep getting these annual games anymore. And Call of Duty is the same as that, unless like I hear that it's like amazing or something like that. Then let's see. But if it's just going to be another standard Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely on board with that. I stopped buying them years ago, so I know that I'm not going to play them online. So what's the point? So I just basically buy the rental or get it on my rental package, and then it comes along, play the campaign, send it back. Cheers. But it didn't look. There was nothing special about it. It just looked, it looked like their last version. Everyone's got like exosuits, so they're running along walls, a bit like Titanfall, but without the big robots, and it just looked, I'm sure it'll be entertaining to play through. They always are, but it's absolutely not going to get me excited for anything.
More of the same.
Guitar Hero Live.
Yeah. So again, I'm just not. It's just old. Like this is like 5 years ago, why bother? I mean, what are your thoughts? You could, I mean, you did have it, didn't you? I mean,
I
you
had
didn't bother with it.
Guitar Hero Metallica, I think.
Yeah.
But I could not be fucked to play another game like that. I just absolutely, that part of my life is over. My musical career is over.
Yeah, I mean, saying that, I just got I saw like that Rocksmith thing. That I saw that for like I don't know, 10, 15 quid or something somewhere, and I've picked that up, and because that's interesting because you can play your own guitar and stuff like that. And I'd rather just do that than bother with Guitar Hero. But let's see.
Yeah.
Again, I'm really not bothered unless again it comes that it's like there's someone says it's completely different, it's going to be incredible, then I might look into it. But if it's just the same shit that has been going on for God knows how long, thanks. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, agreed. Then they announced Destiny: The Taken King. So that's the Destiny, whatever you call it, Year 2 or Destiny 1.5, whatever. So it's something that's going to be delivered either electronically or on disc if you need it. And it's an expansion to the game that is roughly, half the size of the original game. So it's a significant download to it. But they've released the pricing and the what do you call it, the DLC package details, and it's amongst some of the worst DLC practice I've ever seen.
Why?
Yeah, so there's an option for, I mean, I'm going to get the pricing wrong, but as in there's an option for around.
You don't have to. You could get it right.
I could get it right. There's an option for around £55-60, right? Say, for people that haven't played Destiny at all to buy the original game, both DLC packages and the new DLC package. So all three
DLC, basically the lot,
and the original game, the lot for like $60 or $60, whatever, pounds, whatever.
Right.
And then the people that have already got it, that have bought both DLC packs and the original game, the new DLC is about 40, right? So straight away, that's not exactly value for money. But the people that get the collector's edition, like the whole thing, they get exclusive exotic weapons and shaders and all this kind of stuff purely for buying that collector's edition. So everyone was.
So you might as well pay the extra $20 or something.
Well, that's kind of the idea. So then there was this interview with this sarcastically smug as fuck guy from Bungie, who was apparently the creative lead in Eurogamer. I don't know if you, I mean, I was tweeting about it during the week, but I don't know if you saw it. But I've never seen a computer game executive so ashamedly just abhorrent, just horrible. The way he's saying it, it's unbelievable. Now, I think in context, if you understand that maybe he's trying to be sarcastic and a bit of a smart ass and not necessarily believing in what he says the whole time, he's trying to tease the interviewer, but he comes off like an absolute prize asshole. And he's basically saying, oh, look, you want this DLC, you want this, you're just going to throw money at the screen. So, why are we going to change it? You're just basically, we know you're going to buy the collector's edition for all that money. And the guy, the interviewer's going, I'm not paying for the same game again. Are you mental? Yeah. And he's basically saying, oh, I know you will. He goes, if I put it in front of you now, you'd buy it. All this kind of stuff. And you're thinking, oh my God, you absolutely.
So weird.
Well worth reading. They've since kind of massively backtracked when almost the entire community kind of turned around to them and said, you pack of pricks, what are you doing? So it's yet another DLC climb down, and they're now kind of reevaluating the different packages and what they're doing for their fans. I mean, ultimately, the idea of Destiny is that you get players that put a certain amount of time in every week or month or whatever, but keep on coming back to it every few months to keep their characters going, right? And that's the idea, that you keep these people playing throughout all the regular DLCs. If there's 2 or 3 DLC releases a year, then you need those people to keep on coming back. If you alienate them through being, trying to milk them like a cow, then it's not going to really go very well. Either way, the actual DLC package looks pretty cool. New subclasses, new missions, new enemy types to fight against, all that shit. So yeah, looks good. Right, you haven't really got into Destiny yet, have you?
I only play it when I'm playing with you. So,
Which was ages ago.
Which is quite a long time ago. Yeah, man, I've just been so busy. But yeah, it's I've only been. I know I was saying I'll talk about this next week. But yeah, I've just been since I got it. I've just been playing Batman Arkham Knight.
Nice.
Pretty much non-stop. I'll go into it more in the future, but it's great.
Cool. Right, so let's try and cover off some of these other ones quite quickly. We had Square Enix. They had their own kind of weirdness on stage, but
why?
Just had a lot of executives out there talking about their kind of mission statements and their view on the world when everyone was kind of like, show us the games. What are you doing?
Okay.
It all got a little bit strange. So they showed mouses. You what?
Stop clicking mouses.
Me?
Yeah, you fucking bastard.
Just multitasking, Sam.
It's like you're hacking. It's like I'm talking to you and you're like Chloe in 24 or something.
I know. I've hacked into your webcam and watching you.
Good.
Nice.
The plan worked.
Yeah. So
I like it when you watch. Yes.
I like to watch. Right. So they showed two of my favorite games from the show, I think. So first off, they showed Just Cause 3, which is out this year. Yes.
Yeah. Would it be? Is it just Far Cry?
It's Far Cry, but a whole lot less serious. So I think the one thing I would say that they're probably missing out on at the moment is they've said there's no multiplayer, there's no co-op at all, which is a bit of a kind of ball ache. But what they have,
I don't mind that so much.
I don't know. I think with Just Cause, it's a kind of thing where you can create so much chaos that it's quite fun if you've got someone else there with you, right? So they've kind of added a lot of different things into this new version of Far Cry 3 where you can like tether helicopters to the floor or one thing. Oh, sorry. What did I call it?
Far Cry.
That's you.
It's not me.
So Just Cause, right? So they put like little, what do you call it? Like grappling hooks where you can tether like a man to a helicopter or a helicopter to a rocket or, whatever you want and just start.
What else could you tether a man to?
A pig. But basically everything explodes and all the buildings are destructible and bridges and all this stuff and it looks amazing. But the concern I would have is like Just Cause 2 where you can create this chaos but then you have to try and go spend like 10 minutes trying to find a way to get to like the next place and then it's miles away. So then you spend so much of your time traveling and trying to find vehicles and stuff that it became an arse ache. But hopefully now it's a little bit better. You've got a wingsuit. You can I don't know, a little bit better with the older parachute and the grappling hook and all that kind of stuff. So it looks like they've tried to make it a little bit easier. But it did look really, really fun.
Okay.
Then Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Are you bothered about that? Did you see any of that?
I saw the trailer thing. It just reminded me of the last one, but looks a bit better.
Yeah, I mean it would do because they're the same series.
The same, but it's like if you would have told me that was the same game, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, what's the difference? What's going to be the difference?
I think it's got a very unique visual style, those games, but ultimately, I think this game they're giving you more incentive to play through using guns and stealth kind of equally. So in the last game, it was easier to play through, or it was only possible to play through purely as guns if like a kind of action based. If you wanted to, you could play through most of it as a kind of stealth option, but certain boss battles you had to kind of get your gun out and like fight that way kind of thing. Whereas in previous versions of the game you can go through pretty much as a pacifist, just disabling people and kind of hacking and doing all this and hiding in the air vents and all this kind of stuff. But now they're kind of equalizing those two journeys and also bringing the stealth journey back, so you can do pretty much what you want. So that looks pretty cool. I absolutely love that series. I think it's really well brought together, the worlds they create and all that. Love it. So did you bother with the one before? What was that? Human Revolution or something?
Yeah, we've spoken about this maybe about 4 times.
Oh, really?
and I was stuck in the pit with the warehouse, and the guy kept killing me.
Oh, right.
And,
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember that.
I hadn't leveled up enough or something. And I couldn't figure out, and I couldn't go back, and it was just all completely a fucking nuisance. Again, I'll probably go back. I want to do that before I do this one.
Yeah, I would say it's
So
probably
much, and I was looking forward to that so much. And just when I actually sat down and played it, and I got stuck, I was just like, oh, so disappointing. Like, so fucked off with it. But anyway, I'll come back to it at some point.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Maybe I'll just start again.
So anyway, they also announced a kind of what was it, World of Final Fantasy that looked a bit. I didn't really get it. It looked like for children.
It's like cartoony, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't really get it. And then they also showed a little bit of Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 7 remake, right?
Yeah.
So that's
which looks fucking great.
That's massive. Now, it is at that point when you're taking it to those kind of like Advent Children style visuals on a PS4, right? And that's what they're now seeming to be like promising everybody. That's going to be years before that's out, isn't it? Because that's just
probably,
trailer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, I mean, and they haven't even announced when 15 is going to be out because they've effectively gone back to the drawing board on many things following the feedback of the demo, right? So
yeah,
and they didn't show 15, so 15's not this year. So 15's at the earliest next year.
You're right. Yeah, it'd be a few years away.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but my main thing is it looked ridiculously good, right?
Yeah, it did look amazing.
Question for you: do you think, because Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy games, especially of that era, right? They're serious and they've got like really long, intricate plots and things, but they've also got quite a lot of humor, haven't they? Right?
Yeah, they're all a bit stupid as well, but especially like those ones of that.
Of that kind of era where of that time, they're the 6, 7. I don't know about 8. It seemed a bit melodramatic, a bit emo for my liking, but I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean 8 wasn't stupid; it was silly, as in.
But 9 had humor, and then 10 kind of like went a bit po-faced and a bit wanky.
Yeah. Oh god, it's not getting to 10.
And then you went on from there. 13 wasn't exactly funny.
No humour really whatsoever, apart from the little chocobo in the guy's hair. That's the humour just got.
Borderline racism, but whatever. My
favourite kind of racism.
So that's my worry here, right? So if they bring about this kind of uber serious, uber slick kind of visuals to Final Fantasy VII, do they then drop the humor that was kind of contingent on the whole plot of Final Fantasy VII, or do they somehow work it in? From the look of the trailer, it just looked like it was going to be completely serious, in which case it's going to be, I mean, it's going to have to be a completely different game regardless. By the time you bring in voice acting, detailed facial animations and all this kind of stuff, you've got a completely different game. And you've got the guy over the advert, it was so kind of serious and all this. And I mean, I know that you could kind of attribute that back to the Final Fantasy VII plot, but it didn't really strike the same tone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And I was speaking to someone about this the other day, and I think it's going to be more excuse me, it's going to be more a reinterpretation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII. There's going to, because as you said, it's like, the original, excuse me, it was quite cutesy, cartoony in places. And even though it had its serious moments and serious beats, it was still very self-aware that it was like little cutie kind of characters. And and just sometimes was just a bit
wacky.
Exactly, wacky, and that Japanese kind of thing. But this will be like, this will be a different Cloud. This will be like, because for me anyway, Cloud in Final Fantasy VII was like a fish out of water. Is that what I mean? And he had this whole, like, he was still really kiddie. So even though he was supposed to be like the soldier and stuff, he was still like quite immature and all this stuff. And I think this will be less like wacky, immature, and more just like bratty, immature. I don't know. Like, I think it will be just a whole different retelling of it, and I think it's going to lose that charm
with things like that. So especially with 10 and 13, and obviously what I've seen of 15 from playing the demo, when they try and do that kind of disassociated youth who's like too cool for school kind of thing, when you do that with text-based game, you can kind of read into it exactly why, or you can kind of fill in the gaps yourself because you're not getting the whole entirety of their character with facial animation and voice and kind of all that detail and that kind of setting. You can kind of fill in exactly how much of an asshole or like their kind of backstory. Whereas when you get in 10, 13 and 15, right, when you get those characters, my only worry is that they do really kind of wind me up the wrong way, and they come off really as like emo, really, or that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in they're just a bit, it's a little bit patience testing. So that's my only kind of worry about it, really, to be honest.
You're right. It's a bit of a worry, but I still think it'll be good.
Oh yeah. It's one of those things where you're just like, well, yeah, I know I'm going to be playing that, so just tell me when it is. Don't need to see anything else. Not really, to be honest.
Just give me it. Take my money. Give me it now.
Take it, but I'm not pre-ordering. Right. So next up, Ubisoft, and I hate Ubisoft. Right. For
You
what
never
they
said.
for their. I know. I keep it to myself, but I've got to say, like, I mean, that was the biggest surprise to me, anyway, of the whole E3 was basically they opened up with South Park, the Fractured Butthole. Fractured Butthole. Depends where the comma.
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, go on.
Did you just say
what?
Did you just say the fractured bumhole?
Butthole. The fractured butthole. That's the name of the game.
See, because I'm so stupid. This, like, through the element of conversation, I've only just realised that it's a play on words.
Oh, you idiot!
I know. That is. Well, so I was like, hold on. Oh. You just got to say you all caught me at a moment of realisation, which makes sense.
It's a direct sequel to the first game, where your character, the new kid, had such a powerful asshole that he could defeat all comers. And in this one, it's something to do with your ass becomes so powerful that it can bend time. So anyone that's a big fan of South Park, The Stick of Truth, I urge you to check out the trailer and also the IGN Unlocked podcast, which is the guy, I can't remember his name now, Ryan something. He basically went to interview Matt Stone, Trey Parker, the guy behind South Park, and it's all about what they thought about Stick of Truth and what they're doing for the Fractured Butthole games. And it's like a really interesting 20-minute podcast, so check that shit out. But yeah, that was, I mean, to me that was perfect, because I never thought that they would do another one, and there were interviews where they were on record of saying it was such a ball ache doing the first game that we're not going to do another one, and then here they are with another one, and yeah, oh wow, amazing.
But it did so well. Ubisoft probably threw a fucking shitload of money at them.
Yeah, I mean, to hear the interview as well, they're both keen on games themselves, and they weren't happy with some of the mechanics within the game. And I mean, while I don't think it was like a mechanically perfect game in terms of like the RPG or combat elements, I think the game itself, I mean, it's one of my favorite, or it's definitely the funniest game I've ever played. It was just so good.
That's good.
It's great, and yeah, it was kind of the perfect length. There were collectibles, but it wasn't to the point where it was so difficult you had to do 10 playthroughs to get it, or all this kind of stuff. I did 100% of the game in about 22 hours with both endings, so that's cool. It's not too long, not too short, perfect. So then Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I don't know what I think, really, to be honest. I mean,
I haven't seen any more about it, and I'm staying away from it. I don't know.
They showed a lot of CG. They showed some gaming, and the two characters do look like they play slightly differently. With Evie, the girl, kind of a bit more kind of sly about how she takes people down, like going for ankles and all this kind of stuff. Whereas I can't remember what his name is, Jacob. He's a bit more kind of just punch people in the face kind of thing.
Right.
Hey, that's fine. He seems to have a collapsible top hat that just disappears when he goes into like stealth mode and he pulls his hood on, which is just a strange thing.
Sounds good.
But yeah, whatever. We've discussed it before. It's London, so I'm probably going to end up playing it, but I just don't know at this point. I mean,
No.
who the hell
Let's
knows?
move on.
It did look impressive, to be fair, but
We'll talk about it enough in the coming few weeks anyway.
Then they showed The Division.
Again.
Yeah, but they've actually given a release date, so it's March next year, so March 2016.
That'll definitely be pushed back. Okay.
You want?
Definitely be pushed back, but yeah.
They've actually named a proper date, so it's like 8th of March or something.
Right, just before my birthday.
I'm not sure it is going to be pushed back by that point. If they go to the length of, they've delayed it twice already, and then it gets an actual date, I don't think they then get the goodwill to push it back, unless it's like a week or so. I don't think they get to push it back beyond that. I don't think. So yeah, it looked pretty cool. There was a demo they went through on the show floor where they took out some bad guys and teamed up with 2 other guys to take down some enemies. And then at the end, just when they were getting a drop, they decided to betray the other 2 that they'd kind of met on their journey, and take their loot. And then right at the last second, one of their own guys betrayed them. So it was kind of, they couldn't hear him, and it was like, "Oh, Sam, where are you? Where are you? You've gone silent. Oh shit, he's left the group." And then he basically, as soon as he left the group, he just started opening fire on them, took them out, and basically took their loot. And so basically, there were 4 people down, and this one guy just run off with everything. So that's quite tense, isn't it? If that's a possibility at the end of every game.
Yeah.
But it did show a mechanic that, you can be roaming around the city, and if you find loot, then you need to basically get to an extraction point before you start taking on like the proper bad guys, because if you die, then you lose that loot.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of the mechanic of how it will work. But it continues to look pretty cool. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Again, just like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
What do you mean? As in, you want to see the reviews, or just stop showing it to me, let me play it, kind of thing?
But both, really.
Yeah, both fair points. Then they showed. Sorry, dude. There's someone at the door. 1 second. You're gonna have to cut this out.
That's all right.
Hey, I'm back.
So, how's that?
No, it's fine. It's my sister. That's fun. Cool. Right. So, ready to pick up?
Yes.
So then, what else was there? So there's Rainbow Six Siege. Bothered by that?
No, Bubba was, but he's dead to us now.
Yeah, I think it looks cool, but it's multiplayer only, I think. So I can't be rimmed with that, really. It doesn't look like that entertaining that I'm going to pick pick up a game like that. Yeah, so that was Ubisoft. I'm sure there was some other bits, but I can't remember now. Then what else are we looking at? Okay, so Sony. Did you see what Sony presented?
Again, the games, not so much the actual presentation. So let's run through this. I've got about 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. Let's get on it. So Uncharted 4, what did you think of what you saw?
Loved it. Saw some of that gameplay when they're in the Jeep. Fucking hell, that was amazing. That was great.
I didn't think it looked as nice as when they showed it last time. Because when they showed, did you see Did you see last year's demo where they showed?
Well, I saw Drake getting up. Where they saw
Drake coming out of a forest and swinging on a rope and taking some punk on a rock out. You remember that?
Yeah, vaguely.
I thought that looked absolutely amazing, like so detailed in terms of vegetation and the character models and all this. But then I didn't think this one looked as impressive at all. It just
I didn't. Yeah, I really liked it.
Like a normal Uncharted game, to be honest. I mean, like a high res one, sure, but I definitely found the first demo more impressive than that Jeep thing. I just thought the Jeep thing. I know they weren't on rails and they were trying. It was like a choice of you can pick your own route down this mountain kind of thing, or down this city. But I don't know. I found the first demo more entertaining than the second, definitely.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. But that's so that's next year.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
That's fine. But that's over a year away, so that's also fine. So 18 months away. Great. Then they didn't show Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, but presumably that's because it's coming out this August. So yeah, fine. There was no mention of the Nathan Drake collection. Again, like a bit strange. They had 3 minutes to show No Man's Sky, which they showed a demo.
I didn't see that. What any difference?
Not loads. They did show kind of intimate what the game is going to be about. So everybody seems to have the same question, which is what you're asking about. We can discuss it at length next time, I think. But I think what they're trying to say is that it is effectively a single player experience. Mostly you can run into other people, but it's not kind of the main thing to do. And then it's really about kind of doing what you want to. Do you trade? Do you discover? Do you fight the whole time? All that kind of stuff. But then the quest is to uncover a mystery that takes you to the center of the universe or galaxy and what's there. So it is more of a kind of interpretive experience rather than necessarily like a Mass Effect where you meet the Reapers and they have a stated aim and then you go and try and stop them. I don't think it's quite like that. It's probably closer to a kind of open world, kind of Minecraft style, do what you want type thing rather than.
Sounds great.
I need rules and boundaries.
I just need a game.
That is a game. Jesus, let's not go over this again. Right.
Faffing about the game.
Faffing about
2016.
Right, yeah. So the weird thing was there was no date. He was saying he wanted to release a date, which I found like really surprising. They didn't say any kind of thing about a date. So again, that was like just nothing they were really kind of showing. They didn't show Tearaway, which is something we thought they would show, the PS4 version. They didn't show on the stage anyway, Persona 4. But they did finally show The Last Guardian.
Yes, which I'm going to be honest. Yeah, so I saw the gameplay.
Go on.
And it reminded me of the trailers that I'd already seen already.
So
and I was
I completely agree with that. Right? Did you see 5 years ago they showed a similar demo? Right? Do you remember that?
Yes. So that's exactly what I'm kind of referring to.
There was a games journalist on Twitter saying basically that the level. So when they played it offline, on the show floor, or when it was demoed to them on the show floor, they were told that level was basically the level that's shown this year was basically the other side of a door from the level they showed 5 years ago, right? So it's the same level. Now, I saw a lot of people going mental about the visuals on it, and I've got to say I wasn't impressed visually. I mean, I don't think it looked amazing at all in terms of like a visually thing. I mean, I think you've got to divorce the two of, the art style versus the horsepower processing of, graphically
It
is.
looked okay. It
It
looked
looked
okay.
okay, but as in the boy looked like he would basically been taken straight from ICO PS2. I mean, he didn't visually didn't look any more impressive than something you could render on your phone. To be honest, it really didn't. The kind of textures on the rocks and everything looked quite impressive. That was really detailed, but the draw distance was really curtailed. But then is that the art style? Because there's always like a mist and a kind of mystery that they purposely trying to create in those 3 games, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Like they always try and make it kind of like
kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. But then the actual mod, like the Guardian thing, Trico, whatever it's called, the dog eagle thing. I mean,
Yeah,
looked impressive, like the behavior and everything. That's what I think. That's the kind of why I was so impressed by the demo again. But as in, yeah, visually, it looked almost like a different style to the rest of the game. It looked almost like a kind of water painting. When you saw the feathers up close, it kind of looked a little bit,
yeah, which is nice.
But yeah, which is nice. But I mean, visually, it didn't look. It wasn't going to blow my mind. Like, say, if you played Shadow of the Colossus back at the time when it was on PS2, right? That literally would have melted your brain.
Yeah, it did melt my brain. Yeah,
right. But visually as well as the actual game contents as well, right?
Yes.
But this is a far cry from it. But yeah, I mean, they've
It's
got
not that much of a Far Cry, but it's sorry.
Nice one. Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad it's now back on track. But I did kind of expect a little bit more. Maybe that's selfish, but I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be 2016, so we have a date. Yes.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm still going to reserve judgment about that. You know, it's just been. There's a reason why this has taken so long, and it can't just be.
Well, apparently one of the reasons that Shuhei Yoshida was saying was basically that it was too ambitious for a PS3 game.
Yeah, whatever.
That's no excuse for it to have lasted 8 years? Is it 8 years? It's a long time.
Yeah, well, a long time. Yeah,
7, 8 years in development to a point where it's not even coming out this year. But yeah, okay. Then there was, what was it? Is it Horizon Zero Dawn? Did you see that?
I did. That was interesting.
Yeah, I think it's quite cool. I mean, if they're going to try and pass off the kind of believable story that all the humans are dead, but somehow they've left robot dinosaurs, I don't really understand that. But I mean, okay, fine. It did remind me quite a bit of Enslaved.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
Literally, I wrote that down and was like, this looks a little bit like Enslaved, what the path to Odysseus or whatever the fuck was the subtitle.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of not only just the way it looked, but like, you know, this world and these monsters and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, it felt very kind of weirdly similar because all that was kind of. I keep going to say steampunk, but obviously it's not steampunk. But like this mecha natural, thing.
And I think there's a lot of games that are kind of all converging on a similar thing these days, and maybe they're all kind of different angles, right? But there's this, which is kind of, you're completely right, you know, like steampunk, mecha, post-apocalyptic kind of, but with the USP is robot dinosaurs, right? And then you've got Recore, which was something that they showed at the Microsoft conference, which is by I'm going to get it wrong now. It's by some famous Japanese producer. Inafune. What did he do?
I can't remember. I can never remember any of the Japanese names.
Okay.
I always get them confused, which sounds racist, and it probably is, but I'm just sorry, I can't remember them.
Okay. He produced... he was the guy behind Mega Man and Resident Evil.
Okay.
So they've got a kind of post-apocalyptic tech kind of, like a cores of different kind of technical robot animals can be rehoused in bigger ones or smaller ones and all this, and it's all kind of sandy and post-apocalyptic and all that, right? And then there's the other kind of theme to games is the kind of post-apocalyptic or kind of like military operator. So the Division is kind of post-apocalyptic. People saying that now. But then they were, I don't know if you saw Ghost Recon Wild Hunt. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
That's an open world game that looks a little bit like a cross between Far Cry and Just Cause 3. So there's obviously Far Cry, and then Just Cause 3, and then there's Ghost Recon Wild Hunt with like kind of like serious plot and drug war on drugs kind of plot lines of taking down drugs barons and all this, but with the kind of like open world freedom of like a Just Cause, where you can go in silently or you can blow the whole place up and all this kind of stuff. But it's all like multiplayer online, right? So there's a lot of like convergence on like what some games are. It just kind of struck me a bit. There was a lot of that going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Shut up, Ben.
No, I see that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. They demoed a little bit of Project Morpheus, but they didn't give any dates as to what was going on or how the price. I mean, it's supposed to be coming out the first half of 2016, but they didn't give any prices or really go into any details on any demos. So it's difficult to know what to think with that, really, to be honest. They did show some kind of quick robot-based FPS game that looked quite fun, but honestly, it was about 10-20 seconds. So that was over and done with. And then they spent the rest of the time on the press conference anyway, announcing kind of exclusive, not exclusives, but kind of like timed exclusive, like pre-order bonuses and all this kind of stuff. So there was a pre-order bonus on Lego Dimensions on the Sony platform. There was something to do with Assassin's Creed Syndicate that was, I'm pretty sure it was Assassin's Creed. Maybe I'm wrong.
Probably. Probably right.
There was the fact that they've now managed to buy the, because I think Microsoft's deal with Activision came to an end on Call of Duty. So now the Call of Duty map packs release 1 month ahead on PS4 rather than Xbox One.
Just at a time I don't need it to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't give a shit either way, really, to be honest. So yeah, that's that. So I mean, overall, they didn't really have anything for this year. So that was the kind of confusing things. I mean, they had two kind of like drop the mic moments in announcing the Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy VII remake. But that's not exclusive to PS4. That's just maybe possibly first on PS4. And then the Last Guardian thing, which is an exclusive game. But yeah, nothing for this year. So Last Guardian's next year, Uncharted 4 is next year. All of the stuff that's this year is, kind of games they've kind of bought under their banner that are coming out on multiple systems, really. So it was a bit strange, really. I don't really know what they were doing, but I suppose they're in such a position they don't really need to worry about it, really, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Right. So Microsoft, let's go through this. So Recall, we've just mentioned, that looked pretty cool, but again, it looked like Enslaved, or reminded me of Enslaved. So they didn't really show gameplay; they just showed a kind of long CG trailer kind of thing. It looked quite cool. Forza 6 looks wicked, but I find Forza Horizon games a bit more fun, really, to be honest. So I probably won't bother with that. They showed a bit of an extended look at Tomb Raider. That looked amazing.
Looked great. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, is that what the last Tomb Raider game is like?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really? So it's. Yeah. I didn't know how close to. I know. Obviously, kind of. If you're going to trace the genealogy of a certain game back, that probably Uncharted owes a lot to the original Tomb Raiders. Anyway, I suppose.
Yeah.
But having looked at that Tomb Raider demo, the first thing I came away thinking was, oh wow, it's really like Uncharted, basically.
Yeah. And the first Tomb Raider game is pretty much Uncharted for people.
Okay, so they're obviously, I mean, they're kind of inspired by one another, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so that looked wicked. I'm going to play that. They showed HoloLens and Minecraft. Looked impressive, but I mean, again, it's not really for me, I don't think. They showed Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which is basically Gears of War 1, but they didn't mention a price, I don't think. So I can't imagine it's going to be an expensive game because it's just the first game remastered. And they showed a demo of Gears of War 4. I saw that. I didn't think the demo looked all that impressive, to be honest. It just looked like a modern Gears of War game. Where the hell is Marcus Phoenix, and why the hell do we care about this new chump?
I'm not bothered about Marcus Phoenix anymore anyway, but I don't know, I quite liked it, like the way it's all dark and the use of lighting.
Yeah, I mean the detail and the weird to say, but the detail on the trees and like some of the kind of like finer resolution points, they looked absolutely amazing. But as in, it just looked. I didn't think like the content of the demo looked all that impressive. It wasn't too different from what we've seen in previous Gears games. Or no,
but I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what to do, but it wasn't. it just wasn't. It didn't really capture my imagination, to be honest. So I was like, okay, fine. Halo 5, yes, please. Yeah, that looked great. They showed a bit of the single player where they were going through as kind of 4-player co-op. Yeah, that looked impressive. The actual visuals looked crisp as anything, Sam. I won't swear that time. It's really, really, really good. It does look like they're kind of bringing in kind of squad combat, so maybe, or squad control kind of thing. So maybe if the other people aren't in control of the other players, then maybe you get to control the kind of movements or anything. Because instead of just being Master Chief on your own, it does look like you're going to be operating as 2 kind of distinct teams of 4 throughout the plot. So that's going to change it a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought it looked quite interesting. I don't know. I'm quite excited for that one, actually.
Yeah, I think it looks wicked. I mean, the thing that really caught my imagination, I haven't played Halo multiplayer for years, really. Probably Halo 3 was the last time. I didn't really play it in Reach, although Reach, ironically, was the best single player game. And I didn't. 4 was just a car crash, as far as I was concerned, anyway. But they showed the multiplayer, and I'm not so bothered about like the straight multiplayer, but they showed this thing called Halo Warzone. Did you see that?
I saw that they talked about it. I didn't actually see anything of it.
So it looks mental, right? So it's basically you've got your kind of, I'm assuming 12v12 teams, right? Or red and blue, right? But then at the same time, you've got any number of computer controlled, AI controlled enemies, like the Covenant, right? And they're flying in and trying to take control points and all this kind of thing, hunters and elites and all this. So it's called Warzone because literally there's several parties trying to control the battlefield at any given time, and not all of them are like human enemies. They could just be, computer controlled AI bots or whatever. But it's just full of vehicles and explosions and planes and jets and all this kind of stuff. And it looked so much fun.
Really?
It really did look like absolute chaos. So yeah, I'm bang up for that. Right, nearing the end. So they did 2 rare things. So one was rare. What was it? Rare Replay, where they've got 30 different games, including Perfect Dark Zero, Battletoads, Banjo-Kazooie, all those games, and all their other classic games, Viva Pinata 1 and 2, all that, all on one disc. I think it's for £19, I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
Coming out in August, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely picking that up. That sounds fantastic.
Fair enough.
Not necessarily going to play like every single one of them, just to be able to kind of dip in and out of 30 different downloadable, sized games. That sounds fantastic. Give that a go. Then they also showed, but with no real details, a new game they're working on called Sea of Thieves. Did you see that?
Okay. No.
Okay, right. So
hit me. What is it?
Kind of like beautiful, kind of almost cartoonish, but not quite. A little bit like Monkey Island, but kind of brought into modern day kind of pirate gameplay. So first person based. The guy kind of like he wakes up in a fire in a jungle, like a campfire, works his way through like a few kind of cave drawings of a big kraken and a skeleton impaled on a sword on a tree, and then makes his way down to a harbor where there's this big pirate ship, and there's few people around, so it looks like a big kind of almost like an MMO, but maybe more kind of big co-op team, right?
Okay.
And then they take control of the ship, and then it starts to look like a kind of pirate simulator almost. Check it out. I think it looks really cool, but there's no details on when or exactly what it is, but it looks pretty cool. So interesting. So that was Sea of Thieves. Then there was the kind of 2 big announcements, really. So they showed something called Xbox Game Preview, which is effectively, on Steam they have early access.
Yeah.
So it's basically bringing in early access style functionality to Xbox One.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I don't know. What do you think?
So I've tried it. I've gone and downloaded both games. For free, you only get like an hour to play each game, right? And there are 2 games on there. So there's Elite Dangerous, which is I really, really want to play, but it's only the kind of PvP like dogfighting thing at the moment. So It's interesting to see how the controls map and all this kind of stuff, but I don't think that's really, unless you want to put down 25 pounds and then have access to it for 25 pounds rather than 40 when it comes out. Maybe that's an idea if you want. But then the other game was the Long Dark, and that was really interesting. I think you should give that a go.
Okay.
I think put it on stream or something and see what happens. It's really cool. It's a survival simulator, so you can choose your own kind of difficulty, whether every animal you see is going to attack you, or whether you'll just kind of be left alone by animals generally, unless you start on them. And you're effectively in the wilderness in Canada somewhere after some kind of like geomagnetic like disaster that the world has suffered, and all the technology is like gone, so you have to go and forage for supplies and find places to sleep and make fires and all this, and then hunt animals and uncover the mystery of what's going on.
Right.
It looks pretty cool. Like visually, it's kind of a little bit like a painting. It's not kind of like straight like real world visuals, if that makes sense. But you only get an hour with it, unless you want to put down £15, I think it is, to play it properly. But yeah, pretty cool. And that's obviously still in development, but effectively you can just go and play this demo or buy the game and see what it's like.
Okay, interesting.
Anyway, and then the main thing they had, which everyone went mental for, they announced a new controller and a new Xbox, so a new 1 terabyte Xbox, which I probably will think about. I don't know. I just want more space. It's like at 90% constantly. I don't know if I'm going to be bothered to not have it. But anyway, it seems like spending money for no reason, really, to be honest. But we'll see. And then a new kind of Elite controller. So it'd be interesting to see what that's actually like, because it's got customizable thumbsticks and different sensitivity options and all this. But it's like £130. So I mean, you've got to really like it. In order to spend that kind of money. Anyway, the main thing was backwards compatibility. So did you see any of that?
I did, and the list of games are pretty shit.
That's the list of games available now, and it's not actually released now. So, I mean, unless you're on the preview program, you won't have access to it now. It's going to be released in the summer. They're currently... they've got a list of games that will be, they've got a list of games that they're working on getting available for the summer. So people for the autumn. So people like Bethesda, if you pre-order or if you buy the game Fallout 4 on Xbox One, then they'll give you a free copy of Fallout 3 on backwards compatibility when you buy the game, right? So effectively you get Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 for Xbox One at the same time, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a voting thing going on Xbox.com to vote for your games that you want them to try and bring back. Effectively, what they said is that bar any games that have multiple discs, the only technical barrier to bringing a game into backwards compatibility is basically just getting a sign off from the game's publisher. So as long as they're not going to be bringing in a remastered version of it, right, which hopefully seems to be dying a death, or tailing off at least, then maybe games publishers going to sign the deal. So we know that Mass Effect 1 has already signed, so Mass Effect is on there. I'm a member of the preview program, so I got Battle Block Theatre, Geometry Wars, and something else that I could download, and it works. Right. It works absolutely perfectly. It just literally like starting a game on Xbox One, straight in, no problems. You can even get the kind of like emulated Xbox 360 like blades up, like the OS kind of thing. So that's cool. But you can also record and send to Twitch or record gameplay clips, screenshots, all that kind of stuff using your Xbox One OS within that. So it's kind of best of both worlds, really. Yeah, I mean, that's great because not only have I not finished Battle Block Theatre and I quite enjoy it when there's someone around, you can just like arse around in it. It's quite cool. There are certain games that I'd play again, like maybe Braid. And then there's also certain games like Skyrim that I haven't finished, and the DLC packs for BioShock that I really want to do. So effectively what's going to happen is if you've got a game on disc and you've only got it on disc, then all you do is put the disc in and then it downloads the game from the store, and then you don't have to use the disc again. It kind of acts as a proof of ownership. And if you own it electronically, it's just automatically going to download. The only thing you need to do is go onto 360 and make sure your most recent save is sent to the cloud rather than on the actual drive itself.
Right.
Which you can do. You just change the location and save the game. Done. And then it auto syncs next time you're on Xbox One.
Okay, that's interesting.
Pretty well. So yeah, that's cool. So hopefully there's more games that get signed off by holidays when it releases properly. And then that is a big feature, I think. I mean, there's loads of stuff I'd happily play, and then I can retire the 360 from my living room. Excellent. Clear some space. Tidy up.
That was a whole lot of stuff.
Have you not got anything on 360 you need to play still?
I don't know, like Dark Souls. Got some other bits and pieces. I've got like that driver thing where you change consciousness. Did that for a bit. Should complete that. But yeah, nothing. No, I think Dark Souls is the major one that I still need to go down in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's two. I'm trying to think what else.
DLCs. Huh? There are 2 BioShock Infinite DLCs, aren't there?
Yeah, so I've done those. Those are good. They don't take it that long either.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I want to do those. I want to breeze through Dishonored, but I'll do it when I can play it on backwards compatibility.
Oh yeah, Dishonored. Fuck hell. Yeah, I've got to do that as well.
Skyrim's the main one I want to do. So that's great. If that's going to come out, I mean, it's currently on this. It's on the top 10 of games currently voting. So hopefully, Bethesda. It doesn't look like they're going to be doing They haven't said anything about a remastered version of Skyrim. Why would they? I suppose.
Did you do Red Dead?
You what?
Did you do Red Dead Redemption?
No, I didn't know.
Oh mate, that is still that might be my favourite game ever.
Oh, that's quite high on the list as well.
Should be.
If you go, that game. You can go to the voting page and put your votes in. But the main things is things like Portal 2, those kind of games. That'd be amazing to have because it's Stick of Truth as well. I'd want to play that. Those 3 games, I don't really replay games ever, but it's in those 3 games that are kind of in my top 10 easily, and I'd happily play them again because I think they've got good replay value. You'd watch South Park episodes again. I'd probably play that once through again, probably the Stick of Truth. The Portal games, I'd have forgotten all the puzzles in a while, or probably already. So I'll play through those again if they could come onto backwards compatibility. That'd be.
I was thinking of doing the first Portal. I guess I've got the orange box on the PS3 because I've never done any of the Half-Lives.
Oh really? What? None of them at all?
As in, I got in about 2 or 3 hours on the first one, and actually probably about the same on the second one, but just never bothered.
I'm not sure about the Half-Lives. I've always found them a little bit they're technically amazing, but as in terms of the plot, people sort of say, "Oh, that's how writing should be done," but it doesn't. I think it's almost an absence of plot. It's a little bit like X-Files, where it's so much is left to the imagination.
Yeah, it just never inspired me really, like it did other people. I'm just trying to think what else there was. The HoloLens stuff looks pretty cool. I know there's a whole stuff about VR, and I'm a little bit obsessed about it. But I heard the HoloLens, especially with its halo, and the objective came up on the screen like it does in the game, and you could have and you were looking at this little desk, and the Spartan Master Chief, whatever, came up and spoke to you. That seemed pretty cool.
I didn't see that bit.
Yeah, check it out. It's really interesting. It's really good. Shenmue 3 as well. That'll be quite interesting.
I thought it was a bit weird. Why, if they're presenting it as a Sony exclusive, then why are they not actually paying for it? Do you know what I mean? They presented it as a Kickstarter. What was that about?
Yeah, and that was a bit strange. I think it was just to be a bit I don't know, because I'm not sure I'd have to look it up, but sometimes with a lot of these games or Kickstarters, whatever, it's more about not essentially raising the funds, not essentially raising funds to make the game, but raising the funds so that they can prove that it's popular enough for them to get more investment.
Yeah, true.
So it might have been that, but I don't know.
I've just never ever seen that on a main stage E3 kind of thing.
Maybe it's to think that they're more forward thinking and, are about the whole Kickstarter indie movement thing. And this, you know what I mean? Just making more of an impression. But I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It's a little bit strange to be like, we are not going to pay for this, but you can pay for it right
here's
now.
a game, but we don't like it enough to actually pay for it. It's only if you guys really, really want it.
You might.
Surely you should have worked that out before your presentation, right?
Yeah, true. Sorry.
Anyway, so final question: what's your biggest plus point from E3, or your biggest game you're looking forward to, or whatever?
The biggest thing. I mean, the thing is, there was no real surprises. Let's be honest, apart from maybe Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, that had actually been mentioned several times, and they'd actually teased it several years ago. But then,
yeah, well, that was a tech demo.
If it was a tech demo, but it's ultimately it kind of gave everyone an idea, thinking, well, why don't you actually do it? And then constantly ask them that question every year or every month for several years.
Yeah, but to actually say they're doing it, I don't know. To be honest, like, I
think there were only two surprises. I think the backwards compatibility thing was a surprise because no one, given the remaster thing, that everyone thought that would never happen on any console. And
yeah,
I think the South Park thing was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like the fact that people are coming away saying HoloLens is pretty fucking cool and could actually be a real contender or something for VR. And that it's, everyone's doing VR, but Microsoft are doing AR.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, they announced a few days earlier about Oculus Rift, but
working with Oculus
with it. But also, it does seem like they're not really beyond actually just streaming games to a big screen within the VR kind of realm. It's still kind of powered by your PC, so it's quite interesting to see. It's like they don't think that. That the Xbox One is powerful enough at the moment, I would imagine, is what they're thinking, is that maybe they're not supporting development of Xbox One games with Oculus.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's just have like a more powerful processor or something just in the headset unit or in some link between that and
Well, it is, yes.
Xbox.
I mean, I think I read something about the Morpheus has got its own kind of like effectively like a power brick, but for processing. It's got like a box that it kind of attaches to outside of the VR, outside of the PS4, right? But it's still kind of, if Microsoft are not bothering to attempt it at all, there's not, I mean, the PS4 is faster in terms of memory processing, but that shouldn't be the defining moment as to whether that couldn't be the only factor in it not being powerful enough for Oculus on Xbox One, if that makes sense. Especially if you're hooking it into a PC, like you hook the processing into the PC and then let the Xbox do the game, right? Why is that a problem? But they don't seem to be going that route, which kind of tells you, well, why not? It doesn't really make sense.
Well, let's see. Let's find out. But the AR thing, I just thought was, I always thought AR might be a bit shit, but from people coming away saying it looks quite cool. I'm quite interested. But apart from that, I'd probably say I really don't want to say Uncharted 4 because that's just classic me, basically.
Classic Sam. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Battlefront, maybe?
Yeah, that did look pretty cool. Mirror's Edge looked amazing. Deus Ex looked amazing. South Park was a big surprise for me. That was the thing I was most happy about. I literally couldn't believe. I think practically the backwards compatibility thing is a big thing. It's a lot of people are going to like that, and that's how they're going to entice a lot of 360 owners to make the move across to Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's what they're thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I read about I have to go in a minute, but when I read about the technology, and there was like going, essentially it's just loading up an emulator in your Xbox. I was like, well, I don't understand why I've been saying that for ages. I don't understand why this hasn't happened before.
Well, I think it's far more complicated when you think it's not just loading an emulator, because the architecture of the of the games are different.
I know, but now it's more PC-based architecture.
I think it's different, because I think before it was something to do with, if you think about the way these games work, it's to do with they say, okay, well, we've got 3 activities. One's managing AI, one's managing graphics, one's managing like game rules or whatever, right? And then you you send one of them to this processor when it's not under load, and then there are rules and processing that's controlling where all those streams are going. One to this processor, one to that processor, one to this. So I think the Xbox 360 had 3 cores or something along those lines that it was divided, whereas the PS4 and Xbox One architectures are roughly similar. They're 6 cores, I think. I might be wrong, but they're not as fast as each of the 3 cores within the last generation or the 360, right? So effectively, you're now having to, the emulation technology has to manage those streams and separate them out between the different cores of the processor on the Xbox One. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So what the difficulty in writing it is actually working out how that works, and every game is programmed differently. So every game is going to maybe throw a shit fit like differently depending on how that processing gets handled.
Well,
and that is why they've already announced that there's not going to be a backwards compatibility thing, or that they're not looking into it anyway on PS4. I mean, I think personally it's also to do with the fact that they're trying to push PS Now. And that's how
that's what I was going to say. They've got guy cut shit.
But
to do that.
The main thing, the main technology thing they said there was because the PS3, they went out on a limb with that kind of cell processor thing. They've got 9 cores on that processor. So that means that basically it's just even harder to start writing emulation technology that manages all those threads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, that was PC Core.
What was your highlight then? And then we got to go.
I think Stick of Truth. Sorry, not Stick of Truth. The Fractured Butthole. I think that was the thing that kind of made me giggle like a tiny child. I was so happy. So happy.
Yes.
Great.
I bet you were.
I bet I was.
Yeah. Okay, well that's it. We'll talk a bit more in depth about what we've been playing and maybe any other post E3 stuff that comes up on the next one. Probably won't be for a couple of weeks now. I mean, generally speaking, these are every couple of weeks anyway, but still. So head over to the site, www.thewildboar.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, which is @thewildboaruk. Again, that's BORE UK, or you can email us at thewildboartv@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. And if you like, this should also be going up at the same time as Soggy Popcorn, which I recorded with Si earlier. So have a listen and look at the site and leave comments and write to us and just do whatever the fuck you want because, you know it's a free country. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, and see you later.
See ya.